Hey everyone, it's me, Jason, here at North of Exile Games. It's Friday night. No, wait, it's Saturday morning. Friday Night Magic ended a couple hours ago, but I've still been down here in the store just trying to get things set up for tomorrow's 24, no, wait, 25-hour live stream because we're going to be trying to raise money for a great cause as we're going to be part of the Extra Life Day streaming on Twitch all day long. We've got a Magic tournament coming up at 1, poker at 7 o'clock, and board game demos all day and all night long, as I'll be staying up for 25 hours along with my co-host Matthew Clayton and our good friend Michael Gemmel, and we'll be doing all sorts of fun and games for the benefit of you, the viewers at home. But to be honest with you, this is all brand new equipment, new cameras, new mics, all this stuff, and we've had a bit of trouble with it. So I've been working hard trying to get all the kinks sorted out. So I'm just going to go ahead and fade over to a match that we had happen here earlier tonight. Now, this is looking in on round 3 out of our 4-round standard event tonight. We had Shawn Hartford, who brought out a Simic food deck, one of the decks that are really dominating standard right now. And he's playing in round 3 against Jason Blair, who brought a Rakdos Aggro deck. Jason likes to play things that cost 3 mana or less, I believe. So Shawn's decided to keep his opening hand of 7 cards, whereas Jason, on the other hand, didn't find a good 7. So he's mulliganing. And the way the mulligan procedure works nowadays is you draw new 7 cards again every time you mulligan. But each time you mulligan, out of those 7 new cards, you have to pick one that you want to put on the bottom of your deck. So since this is his first mulligan, if he can find 6 playable cards, he'll keep them and have to just tuck 1 card on the bottom of his library. If not, he'd have to mulligan again, and next time he'd be picking 5 to keep and 2 on the bottom. So let's see if he can find 6 playable cards here. He's considering his options. Taking a moment, this is the longest part of a game for a Rakdos player is the mulligans. He's decided that he's got 6 playable cards, and he tucked 1 on the bottom. Shawn played a forest and passed to get the game going. Jason's playing a land. It's actually one of the tap lands that comes in and he gains life. So Jason goes up to 21 life. And this is me. I'm doing the audio and updating the life tools at the same time. So if I miss something, I apologize, but I'm going to do the best that I can. This is what it's going to be like tomorrow. We don't have a separate technical crew. Jason plays the second land for turn 2, and he's playing, oh god, I can't quite remember the name of it. But it's a creature, it's a 1-1 with haste, and when it hits a player, it gets a +1 counter on it. So Shawn is now down to 19 life, and Jason's got a 2-2 creature. Now on turn 3, Shawn does the turn 3 play everybody wants to do these days. He's brought out an Oko and plussed it up to make a food token that he just has sitting off camera. Food tokens, of course, you can pay 2 mana of any color and sacrifice it to gain 3 life. But that's not really what Simic food decks want to do with them. They tend to like to turn these food tokens that they make into 3/3 elk. Oko actually seems to be pretty good at just making creatures. So Jason chooses to hit Shawn directly, not go for the Oko, because that way the counter does continue to go on the creature, and the creature's going to get a little bigger. If he went for the Planeswalker, it wouldn't get bigger. So Shawn's going to go to 17 life. And Jason's creature's now a 3/3. And he brings out another red-black creature. This one being the one that at the beginning of Jason's upkeep, if that creature's still alive, Jason's going to, well, they'll both lose a life and draw a card. So red-black decks being aggressive, they love extra card draw. It helps them a lot. Shawn plays a land for turn 4, and it looks like he's going to be plussing up his Oko again. Making a food token, I believe, is what he chose. Yeah. And then bringing out a 2/2 Hydroid Crisis. Shawn gains 1 life and draws 1 card, so that's going to bring Shawn back up to 18 life. Jason's just pointing out to Shawn that they're both going to be losing 1 life each and drawing a card, so we're going to update the life totals here to reflect that. And there we are. Jason's only hope really is he's got to go fast, because Oko decks they go bonkers, making all sorts of food tokens and then turning them into 3/3 elk when you can make a bunch of elk basically for free without using cards out of your hand. It can get out of control in a hurry. Jason's cast a card that's basically threatened. It lets him steal a creature that has a converted mana cost of 3 or less for 1 turn and gives it haste. So he's actually attacking Shawn with his own creatures. Shawn takes a full 7 damage and goes down to 10 life. Now it's at this point in the match where unfortunately our camera cut out the audio. So it's a little harder for me now to keep track of the exact life totals because I don't have audio for the rest of this broadcast. But I'm just going to watch along with you, the viewers at home, and try and do my best. Now I believe that's a second one of those red-black creatures, I should say, that at the beginning of his upkeep, they're both going to take 2 damage now and draw 2 cards is what's going on. Shawn's got his Hydroid Crisis back. He's untapped, playing his 5th land. He's got an Oko and lots of opportunities to turn food tokens into elk should he choose. So Shawn's going to just take a moment here and consider his options. He's got a bad board state that he's facing against because that one creature on Jason's side that you'll see that has the 3 counters on it, it's a 4/4, and when it dies, it's going to deal 4 damage to any target. If it keeps hitting Shawn, it's going to keep getting bigger and do more damage eventually when it dies. So Shawn is going to have a creature come in. This is a wolf that if he sacrifices a food token, the wolf will get a counter on it, but it'll also become indestructible till the end of turn. And then it's going to be fighting something if Shawn wants. So Shawn's going to have the wolf fight. He's already sacked a food token to tap his wolf and make it indestructible. Jason's going to deal 4 damage. It looks like he chose to deal the 4 damage directly to Shawn from his creature dying, so that would knock Shawn down to 6 life. But I don't care how much food you have. When you're playing against a Rakdos Aggro deck and you're at 6 life and they're at 20, it's not the ideal situation. Although, all that being said, it was a good play for Shawn. He got an extra body down and removed one of Jason's creatures that he had to. But I think Shawn's looked at the board state now and realized things are just a little too out of control. On the next turn, Shawn would gain 2 cards, but he'd also lose 2 life. He'd be at 4 life, and just about any card would probably have got Jason there because Shawn's creatures were tapped. So that's the end of game 1. Shawn makes the concession. Sometimes, too, you don't want to play out that last turn if you feel like you're definitely beat because later on you might need that extra minute or so left in the timed round. So there is a definite strategy sometimes to knowing when you're beat and just scooping up and going to game 2. So now they're going to both be doing some sideboarding. Well, it'll be interesting to see how game 2 goes with game 1 going to Jason. It seems like a fairly quick decision for Shawn, most likely. Shawn being one of our more experienced standard players here. He's definitely very up to date on the meta. He's very knowledgeable on what decks he's most likely to see here. He watches a lot of coverage online. So he usually tends to be pretty quick at his sideboarding because he can see a deck and know what he's brought to deal with it. Jason here on the other side of the table, he's still looking through his sideboard trying to decide what's the right course of action. I mean, on a personal level, I sometimes find it's harder to sideboard when you've won a game as opposed to when you lost. Because when you win a game, sometimes it's not quite so obvious what you could have done better. But when you lose, you know what made you lose. So sometimes sideboarding can definitely feel a little easier when you've lost the first game and you know what you need to combat. So Jason here, he's still going through his deck. I think maybe what's going on is he's probably picked a couple cards he wants to put in, but he might be having trouble figuring which cards he wants to cut back out. You'll notice too, Jason tonight is rocking the recently released Halloween themed sleeves from Dragon Shield. He's also got the matching playmat. It's a headless horseman with a pumpkin for a head in its lap. The artwork's really nice. The sleeves are really nice, and the matching playmat looks pretty good too. He managed to pick those up at his local game store. Little plug there. Well, Dragon Shield's actually released a lot of gorgeous artworks lately. There's 7 or 8 new sleeves that have just come out in the last couple weeks alone. But that's enough talk about accessories because it looks like we're getting ready to jump into game 2. Speaking of which, since we're getting ready to jump into game 2, let's just go ahead and reset Shawn's life total to 20. I don't think it's fair to make him start at 6 life. I'm sure Jason would have been okay with it, but Shawn might be a little upset, so we'll get his life total back to 20, and we'll see how game 2 goes. I do notice that Jason has decided to take a mulligan, so this is the second game in a row where Jason couldn't find 7 cards that are playable at the start. This being Jason's first mulligan of game 2. He's hoping to find 6 playable cards, and if he can, he'll be taking that 7th card that he can live without and tucking it on the bottom of his library. I know Shawn and Jason are both planning on coming back tomorrow to play in our fundraising event, our free fundraising Magic event that's going to start at 1 p.m. tomorrow, Saturday, November 2nd. Wizards of the Coast, the amazing company that they are, they sent us a ton of their welcome decks, so everybody who comes out to play is going to get a free welcome deck, but we're actually going to open them up and let people pick the exact 2 colors they want, and then we've got all these fun reasons to come in and donate money to the Sick Kids fundraiser. You can slide in deck cards into your deck that you brought from home with a certain amount of a donation, and oh my goodness, Jason's taking another mulligan. That was his 2nd mulligan already, too. So when he goes here on his 3rd mulligan, doing math in my head, it's like 1:30 in the morning. He's going to be looking to find 4 playable cards and have to tuck 3 on the bottom of his library. This is definitely not the start you want to be getting to any game, especially when you're a Rakdos player. Because oftentimes, as a Rakdos player, it's easy to get some early damage, but it's a crucial last 5 damage on your opponent that can be so hard to get. That's why they actually play those red-black creatures that do damage to themselves but draw bonus cards, because a little bit of card advantage can really go a long way for a Rakdos player. So Jason, it appears, has indeed found 4 playable cards to start his game with. Let's be honest, once you're mulligan that many times, I mean, you almost have to keep any 4 cards, because the odds of you finding a better 3 are slim to none. So Shawn's played the Temple of Mystery to start off the game. He scryed 1. Jason's playing a tap land as well. It looks like he's grabbing his life total, so that must be the tap land that he gains life. So we'll mark Jason down as being up 21-20 for now. Shawn plays the land for turn 2. Brings in Paradise Druid. Now that Paradise Druid in particular, that's the creature that when it's untapped, it's hexproof. So as long as it's straight up and down there on the battlefield, Jason won't be able to blast it with any burn spells or anything of that nature. More importantly for Jason, Jason does play the threaten card where he gets to steal a creature that has converted mana cost 3 or less for a turn, and he won't be able to do that if it's untapped. Now, from the look of it, I can't quite remember what the name of the card is, but Jason does have that red-black creature in play that at the beginning of their upkeep, they each lose a life and draw a card, and you can see that they're both doing that now. So I'm just going to update the life totals to reflect that Shawn's now at 19, and then Jason's going to be back down to 20 life. All right, let's see what happens this turn. Land coming into play. That looked like a shock land came into play untapped. So that would put Jason down to 18 life, I believe. What's Jason going to do now? Jason taps his fully shocked land. Taps 2, brings in the red-black 1-mana creature with haste that if it hits Shawn, it's going to get a +1 counter put on it. And oh no, look what Jason's doing. He's trying to steal that Paradise Druid, but I believe Shawn's going to explain to him that because it's hexproof, Jason won't be able to do that. It looks like Jason thought that that's going to go into his graveyard, but that's not actually how Magic works. Shawn's going to tell him, like the good Magic player he is, that because it was hexproof, Jason wasn't allowed to cast it at all. So it just goes back in your hand. You untap the land that you used to pay for it, because, I mean, really, you never got to do it. So good on Shawn for making sure to explain that to Jason, and Jason's got his card back in his hand. And now we're going to see what's Jason going to do now that he has to deal with a blocker there. Is he going to attack? There's a 2-1 Paradise Druid. Jason's got the 1-1 creature that if it hits Shawn, it starts getting bigger. It's a tough call for Shawn. Looks like Shawn's going to opt for the trade, and then the 1 bonus damage will still hit Shawn. Shawn's going to be dropping to 18 life here. Now Shawn's turn. He's gone ahead and started tapping some land. What's he doing? I believe that's Gilded Goose from the look of it. Gilded Goose has a great synergy with Oko, because once Gilded Goose isn't summoning sick anymore, Shawn's going to be able to activate that on Jason's end step and start spitting out some food tokens, which of course is great because Shawn can plus up the Oko and turn those food tokens into 3/3 elk, which is just really bonkers. I believe it looked like Jason actually asked Shawn whether or not that was in fact a plus. The Oko ability is just so good that people sometimes mistake it for it should have been a minus. But no, it's indeed a plus, and Shawn's got a couple food tokens off to the side of the board. At least one. Two, I think, because I believe Gilded Goose might have gave him one when it came in as well. Shawn's clearing the board over there. Jason's begun his turn, drawn a card. We're all tied up 18-18 as far as I can tell. Let's see what Jason does. Taps a couple land. Jason's stuck at 3 land right now. Shawn's at 4. Jason, what's he got up his sleeve? Let's see what he does. Oh, it's a long pause here. Oh, Jason's going to go all in. He's casting 3. And what's he doing? Oh, I see. This is Drill Bit, a card where Shawn reveals his hand and then has to discard a non-land card of Jason's choice. Shawn, knowing how good of a threat Hydroid Krasis is, he just went ahead and tossed it right in the bin for Jason. Jason appreciates that, and sure enough, that was the decision. But Shawn's counting up some mana now. Could he have hit another one off the top of the deck? He's tapping Gilded Goose for mana, and indeed, that's what it is. Shawn's going to get himself out a 4/4 Hydroid Krasis, which means Shawn is going to be gaining 2 life. We'll put him back up to 20 life. So Shawn gains 2 life and draws 2 cards off that, which are 2 things Jason does not want to see happening as a Rakdos player. The last thing you want is your opponent to be gaining life or drawing cards. So it's an interesting board state now because Shawn's also been able to plus up Oko to turn one of those food tokens that he already had in the game into an elk. Now, because he already had the food token before the turn started, that 3/3 elk is not going to be summoning sick. And sure enough, Shawn declares it as attacker, and Jason's going to be going down to 15 life, I believe. Shawn passes the turn to Jason. Shawn's got to be feeling pretty good about his board state right now with a 4/4 flyer, a Gilded Goose that can create extra tokens, and we officially have the elk-making machine, Oko, going at full speed ahead. There will be elks coming out all over the place. Here's a nice little twist of fate, though. Jason does love that spell that lets you borrow a creature for a turn, as long as its converted mana cost is 3 or less. Now, despite the fact that this Hydroid Krasis is a pretty big 4/4, its converted mana cost is still only 2, because no matter what, X always counts as 0 anywhere except on the stack. So Jason was able to steal that Hydroid Krasis. He attacked with it. I missed something here. I think Shawn might have taken damage from the creature attacking, so I'm going to put him at 16. And then afterwards, Jason casts a kill spell where he sacrifices a creature he controls to kill one of Shawn's creatures. And what happened there is he sacrificed Shawn's own Hydroid Krasis, because Jason still controlled it to the end of turn, to kill one of Shawn's creatures, the Gilded Goose. Now all that Shawn has left over is a 3/3 elk and a very, very swole Oko with 9 loyalty counters on it. This Oko is a big fella right now with lots of loyalty. Jason, on the other hand, I will point out, is still stranded at only 3 land. Shawn, it appears, has 6 basic land out. Not basic, but 6 land out. 6 land to 3 land. That's not a fair situation to be in. I don't know if anybody, especially a Rakdos player, is going to be able to come back when you're just not drawing the resources to cast more than 1 card a turn. It makes it awful hard. You want to ideally be playing out your whole hand and just getting aggressive, and Jason hasn't been given the opportunity to do that. Shawn now casts Once Upon a Time, a spell that lets him look at the top 5 cards of his library. He can reveal a land or a creature, and I believe it just goes right into his hand. Let's see what he's going to be looking for. I don't know. He might be hoping to get another Hydroid Krasis, and barring that, he might want a land to keep ramping up towards a Hydroid Krasis, because that's basically the card that really drives Jason up the wall the most, I think. So indeed he does. He reveals a land, puts it into his hand. It was a Temple of Mystery for later. Shawn taps the land now, and a Gilded Goose. Once again, Gilded Goose enters the battlefield. Shawn's going to get a food token for that. Now he's going to activate Oko, turn a food token into a 3/3 elk. Now, It appears that Shawn already had that food token because he's able to swing in for 6 right now. That's going to drop Jason down to a mere 9 life. Shawn's got the entire board state, a couple creatures out. Again, the elk making machine Oko is just doing in lots of work over there. Jason's still stuck at just 3 land, drawing another card off the top of his deck. Will he finally hit a 4th land? Let's find out. Well, it can't have been a land because he hasn't played one yet, so it'll be interesting to see what comes out here. What's it going to be, Jason? What are you going to do? It's a rough situation for sure. Oh, Legion's End. That's interesting. He's going to get to exile all cards, all creatures with the same name off the battlefield. So he took the elk tokens. Technically, Shawn still has to reveal his hand because that's how the card is worded. Legion's End. You reveal your hand, and if there were any in your hand as well, then you'd have to exile them. But my goodness, if Shawn revealed his hand and had elk tokens in it, I think there'd be a lot more questions than answers. And with that, the turn ends, and we pass over to Shawn. Shawn untaps and draws. Plays likely the temple that we saw revealed a little while ago. Gets a scry, gets a card out of the way that he doesn't like. And he's going to plus up Oko. What do you think he's going to do with that? Well, I think he's going to make a 3/3 elk out of a food token, which is pretty impressive, turning food into like living beasts. I don't know how Oko's doing that, but that's some magic he's got over there. Jason, I believe, is just at 9 life. Now that elk should be not summoning sick and able to attack because I believe Shawn already had food tokens. And indeed, that is the case. Shawn's attacking. Getting in there for another 3. That should be dropping Jason to 6 if I've been keeping track of the life totals right. Pass over to Jason. At this point, it's almost insulting to draw land. Oh, and he does draw land. You know, you're about to die. About time to give you that land you've been waiting 6 turns for. And it's a tap land. It's not even a gain life land or anything. It looks like the Witch's Cottage or whatever that land's called, that tapped swamp that comes in. Jason brings out, of all creatures, the one that at the beginning of his upkeep, everybody loses a life and draws a card, because that's what you want to do right now when you're at 6 life. It's Shawn's turn. Shawn draws, plays another land. He's got more land than a Monopoly player. Plussing up Oko, going to make another 3/3 elk. That's my guess. I'm assuming he made a token off of Gilded Goose. Brings in another 3/3. Now, will he be able to attack with both? Assuming he made it before the turn started, he'll be able to attack with both, and he does. So he's swinging for 6 damage. So this is interesting. He must have had 1 more life than I realized. I must have counted wrong somewhere because he's still alive. I'm going to mark him down as having 1 life. I was wondering if I missed something somewhere. Perhaps a land where he gained a life or something. But he's got to be almost dead. He's going to borrow an elk. But what can you do? You know Shawn's going to be swinging with more elk next turn. If I'm Shawn, I don't even block. I just take the damage because I can afford the life and swing back next turn. So Jason, it looks like he is going to indeed attack with that elk because why wouldn't you? Shawn's going to take 3 damage. That should put him right around 13 life. Again, I'd know exactly if the audio was working on this camera when this match was played, but unfortunately the audio settings weren't right, so it's a bit of a guessing game for exact life totals. After Shawn took the damage, Jason cast a spell to kill a creature by sacking a creature. So he sacked an elk to kill an elk. That's the kind of thing Shawn likes to not have happen to him. Shawn makes a food token at the end of Jason's turn, untaps, draws a card, plays a land. I feel like there's going to be a elk coming to life any moment now. But first, what is this? Oh, this is that wolf that fights when it comes in. Oh, that's good. That gets rid of a potential blocker. Shawn's just explaining to someone about how the fighting works there. And because the creature that Shawn was fighting against was small enough, he didn't even have to sacrifice a food token to make it indestructible. That wolf just does the damage and sits there now. Now what's going to happen? Are we going to get an elk coming in? I'm confused. Yeah, activating Oko. Here comes an elk. There it is. 3/3 elk. Man, it sure would have been nice if Wizards of the Coast would have printed elk tokens, don't you think? I haven't seen any. I'm not aware of them. They may exist, but I haven't seen any. So instead, Sean's just going to be using dice, tapping a Gilded Goose to make another. Oh, tapping Gilded Goose for mana, because he's bringing in a big old 4/4 flyer. That gives you the inevitability of a turn left to go. All right. Jason plays a land. Looks like he's got nothing left in his hand, no tricks up his sleeve, and that's it for game 2. Jason hit 0 life there eventually. He must have gained some somewhere along the line, because I thought I had him dead about a turn earlier. But good for Shawn, getting game 2 down, which means we're going to go to game 3 here. Game 3 in round 3 between Shawn with his Simic food and Jason with his Rakdos Aggro deck. So we'll get these life totals reset. And now we'll see how many mulligans is Jason going to do this time. First time Jason had a mulligan once, down to 6 cards. Second time Jason had a mulligan 3 and go all the way to a 4-card starting hand. And good on him for still putting up a bit of a fight with a 4-card starting hand, because that is not a recipe for winning for sure. But he put up a good struggle and made it last a while, and now here we go, going into game 3. It'll be interesting to see what would happen if he didn't have to mulligan. So here we go. They're cutting the cards. Again, look at those lovely Dragon Shield sleeves. I happen to know somewhere where you can find those. Come on into the north and we'll hook you up with some beautiful Dragon Shield sleeves. We got lots of new artworks. So Shawn won game 2. That means Jason's going to be making the first choice on mulligans. We'll see what Jason does here. I will be shocked if he actually gets to keep a hand with 7 cards in it. Let's see. I definitely see 2 land there. And I saw, it's called Dreadhorde something, the hasty one that gets counters on it. And I saw that in his hand. So looks like Jason's actually going to go ahead and keep his hand. And I think that's the shock land. It looked like I saw 2 basic land types in that. So he's just playing a shock land tapped and passes to Shawn. Shawn's playing a land, I think that's Breeding Pool. So they're both playing shock lands tapped. Turn 2, Jason's got that hasty Dreadhorde, whatever he's called. And it's going to hit Shawn for 1. Shawn's going to go to 19, and Jason's creature is going to get a little bit bigger and become a 2/2. Now, Shawn brings out Paradise Druid. Again, that's the one that's hexproof as long as it's untapped. So Jason resists the urge to try and steal that with one of your spells. It's not going to work the way you want. Jason plays the land tapped. I can see him reaching for dice. That must be the tap land that gains him a life, so we're going to mark Jason at 21 now. 21 to 19 for Jason. He's going in for 2. Shawn's going to choose to trade rather than let that guy get any bigger. And on dying, that Dreadhorde's going to hit Shawn for 2 damage and knock Shawn down to 17. 21 to 17. Man, I can't wait to do this tomorrow when I have someone to talk to. It's awful lonely here by myself. I just I miss my buddy Matt. Matt's going to be here tomorrow. We're going to talk about a lot of Magic. We'll interview some players. It'll be a great time. I can't wait for it. But that's tomorrow. For tonight, we just got one more game of Magic for me to prattle on through. So here we go. Jason's casting Drill Bit and looking at Shawn's hand. Jason gets to pick any non-land card that he wants and make Shawn throw it away. Looks like Oko. Is that the choice? Or Questing Beast? Oh, Questing Beast. Jason's going to let Shawn keep an Oko. And that Questing Beast won't be doing any questing today. Pass to Shawn, turn 3. Hey, guess what's coming? It's your friend and ours, Oko. Oko comes in, pluses up to 6, and Shawn's got a food token off to the side, waiting to be deliciously eaten later. Jason untaps. He's got 3 land. It's got to be a good feeling to not be stuck for land. He's going to attack for 1 with the Dreadhorde. It has haste, and it hits Oko to 5. Interesting choice. Oh, and here's why. He's cast that spell that lets you take 5 counters off a creature or planeswalker. 5 counters happen to be the exact amount needed to kill that Oko. So Jason forewent the option of hitting Shawn for life and getting his creature bigger. Instead, he just got the Oko threat off the table, and I really can't argue with that. Oko will walk away with a game if you let him. We're back to Jason's turn again after Shawn playing land. Jason's going to attack directly. Shawn's going to take a damage. And that Dreadhoard's going to get just a little bit bigger. Now he's a 2-2 on the board. Jason's got 3 land. And looks like Spawn of Mayhem. 4-4 flyer. I think it has trample. And at the beginning of Jason's upkeep, both players take a damage. Just something like that. Shawn's bringing out a Planeswalker. I can't tell if it's a Vivian or a Nissa, but it's one of the green Planeswalkers. Oh, it's the one where you get to untap a land and turn it into a 3-3 creature. All right. Interesting. Shawn's got a 3-3 land that's also a creature. Jason's got a 2-2 Dreadhorde and a 4-4 flying Spawn of Mayhem. Now, I noticed Jason drew a card and I didn't see anybody reach for life total, so I think Shawn and Jason forgot about that trigger on the Spawn of Mayhem. Instead, we're going to combat. Jason's 2-2 Dreadhorde, remember, if it dies, it'll get to do 2 damage to anything. Shawn's going to block with the Temple. The Spawn is doing 4 damage. Oh, and then the extra 2 damage from the death trigger is going to be 6, so that's enough to kill that Planeswalker and get her out of the way. Shawn still has a 3-3 land, but Jason's got a 4-4. It's not a bad spot to be in. What are we casting here in the second main phase? Looks like a creature and came in with 3 counters on it. Shawn's playing a temple. He's going to scry off the top of the deck. Let's see what he does. Looks like, is it going to stay on top? He hasn't let go of the deck yet. Still, he's touching the card. He's toying with it. He's toying with Jason's emotions is what he's doing. Do I leave it on top? Do I put it on the bottom? Toy with your emotions for a minute, Jason. Let's see what he does. Shawn's going to go ahead and put it underneath. So Shawn didn't quite like that card enough to keep it. So he's buried whatever that mystery card was on the bottom of the deck and passed back to Jason. I got to say, even though Jason only has 3 land and Shawn has 5, I like the board state here. That 4-4 flyer, that Spawn's going to do a lot of work. Now, once again, I didn't see them reach for any... Oh, here we go. Shawn's pointed it out. Shawn's reminded him of the trigger, so they've both lost a life now. All right, good on you, Shawn, for being alert. Drop them both down. That should have Shawn around 15 life, and Jason should be at 20, I believe. So let's see what's going to happen here. It looks like combat. I believe the 3-3 is also flyer, so that's just 7 damage Shawn has to take. That's going to drop him down to 8. 8 from what I can tell. So, and with Jason having 7 damage on board, like, Shawn's at maybe a 2-turn clock. Was that a burn spell? Sure looks like it. I believe that puts Shawn to 5 life. So we're really tight here. Shawn's at 5 life. Jason's got a couple things. He's showing his hand. And that's it. That's the game. It looks like Jason Blair with his Rakdos deck is going to get one of those rare wins over Shawn with the Simic food deck. It's not easy to beat a Simic food deck. Again, it's pretty much the most dominant deck in Magic right now is those Opal decks. So good on Jason for getting the win. Thank you to both Jason and Shawn for giving me one more test. Hopefully we'll be good for tomorrow now. I think we're getting the volume levels right on the mics. The cameras are working okay. And tomorrow should be a lot more interactive too because I'm going to have my co-host Matt with me. So thanks for tuning in, watching the game. Interesting to note is we'll probably do a lot of feature matches in the future now that we got the equipment here. So have a great night, and hopefully we'll see you all here tomorrow when we host our 25-hour live stream here in the north, raising money for Sick Kids Hospital. Have a great night, and we'll see you soon. Take care, everyone. I'm going to hit the stop recording button now. Bye-bye.